banknote doesn't go any higher than $100. Fuller had the genius idea to create a counterfeit $1 million note.
स्वागत है आप सभी का बकचोदी के एक नए एपिसोड में। आज अपन देखने जा रहे हैं द डम्बेस्ट क्रिमिनल ऑफ ऑल टाइम। तो चलो आओ मजे लेते हैं।
As did Albert Bailey, although in a much stupider way. Bailey had planned on robbing a bank in Fairfield, Connecticut, although rather than exercising the element of surprise, he'd call the bank prior to the robbery stating, "I want $100,000 in large bills and no die packs. I'll be sending someone into the bank to get the money. Don't call the police, we are monitoring the police scanner." Prior to making this phone call, Bailey had already served 7 years in prison for a previous bank robbery. However, this new plan was equally ineffective, as after arriving at the bank to collect his cash, Bailey was locked inside, arrested, and sentenced to another 9 years in prison. Although, if he wanted to avoid this time behind bars, he could have had a chat with Tito and Amanda Watts, who got arrested in Florida for selling tickets to enter heaven at a price of $100. Tito Watts said in his police statement, "I don't care what the police say, the tickets are solid gold, and it was Jesus who gave them to me behind the KFC and said to sell them so I could get me some money
KFC
to go to outer space. You should arrest Jesus because he's the one who gave me the golden tickets and said to sell them. I'm willing to wear a wire and set Jesus up." The couple had apparently earned over $10,000 from the stunt, meaning that they were able.
भाई एक तो इंसानों को मैं कभी नहीं समझ पाऊंगा भाई। अभी तुम लोग मेरे आवाज में इतना डिसअपॉइंटमेंट देख रहे हो उतना मैं हूँ भाई। मतलब ये तो चूतिए है ही, और या तो ये मास्टरमाइंड है। इन लोग को पता चल गया कि बंदे कितने बड़े चूतिए, उन लोग से किस तरीके से पैसा लिया जा सकता है, और उतने बड़े चूतिए बंदे भाई कि लोग के ऊपर विश्वास कर लिए। भाई तुमको कोई आके बोलेगा कि मेरे पास टिकट है, इससे तुम स्वर्ग जाओगे, तो तुम ले लोगे क्या? बोलेंगे श्री कृष्ण ने भेजा है। मतलब भाई प्रभु के पास इतना समय नहीं है कि ये चूतियों के पास आके उन लोग बकचोदी करेंगे। भाई इन सारे वीडियो से तुमको पता लग सकता है कि दुनिया में कितने खत्म लोग हैं।
Even dumber than them, one of which might have been Ruben Zarate. While attempting to rob a muffler shop in 2008, Zarate was told that the shop couldn't access the money safe without their manager, who didn't begin his shift until later that afternoon. Instead of bailing on the robbery, Zarate instead gave them his phone number, asking them to give him a ring the next time the manager was in. They did so later that afternoon, although after returning to the store, Zarate received no money and was instead met by police and charged with aggravated robbery. Then there was the man who gave the people he was robbing something even stupider. The unnamed robber walked into a London bank carrying a gun and a bag, which he'd take to the front desk before demanding £700,000 in cash from the bank worker. But after making his demands, the crook handed over his gun to the cashier instead of the bag. Investigating authorities stated, "The guess is that he is very inexperienced and panicked when he approached the cashier, handing over his gun instead of a bag by mistake." But it was Trevor Jones who left an even more damning piece of evidence at his crime scene. After breaking into a house in Atlanta,
पक्का गांजा पी के गया होगा। पता है तुम लोग, एक बहुत फेमस एक और वीडियो है, तुम लोग अगर देखे होगा तो कभी बताना कि गांजा फूक के एटीएम में पैसा निकालने गया था, नोट फाड़ के रिसिप्ट लेके आ गया। ये भाई वो चूतिया के साथ उसकी वो फटी नहीं तो गांजा के नशे में था वो चूतिया। बैग देने के वजह पर साला ले गन ही पकड़ा दिया भाई। ये भगवान, सब लोग क्या मैं बोलूं यार।
Facebook on the owner's computer before leaving without logging out. Less than 3 years later, a similar story entered news headlines, reading, "A 26-year-old Minnesota man has been tracked down by police after leaving his Facebook profile logged in at a house he allegedly robbed," although this story has a much funnier ending. The homeowner decided to message the robber via his Facebook, stating, "You left a few things at my house last night, how can I get them back to you?" which was followed by the robber agreeing to come back to the home so he could collect the stuff he forgot. However, the robber didn't get any of his items back and was instead arrested while still wearing a watch that he'd stolen from the night before. While both of these idiots
भाई या तो फिर मेरे हाँ रहे तक मेरे को पॉज करना पड़ रहा है बात करने के लिए, लेकिन कल ही बोला बात करने हो जाता है। बात क्या करूँ मेरे साथ? कमेंट सेक्शन में लिखा करो, मैं रिप्लाई दिया करूँगा, लेकिन कमेंट तो आते नहीं। क्या लाइक नहीं आते मेरे वीडियो पे, व्यू नहीं आ रहा तो कमेंट क्या आएंगे? बहुत आगे पहुंच गया मैं भाई। कितने चूतिया लोग हैं यार दुनिया में। कोई तुमको किसी का तुम चोरी करने जाओगे हो, तुमको अगले दिन कॉल करके बोलेगा भाई तुम कुछ भूल गया के ले जाओ, तो तुमको क्या लगता है तुमको क्यों बुला रहा है? इतना कौन भला है भाई? अरे माँ मेरे को मार दो भाई, मैं पागल हो जाऊंगा।
poorly, at least they
अब
didn't
शांति से
brag
देखूंगा
about the
बकचोदी
robbery
नहीं।
in a YouTube video, as is what happened in the bizarre case of Hannah Sabata. In 2012, at the age of 19, Sabata stole $6,000 from a bank in Nebraska, and while almost anybody else would have simply kept quiet, Hannah instead took to her YouTube channel Jelly Beanie to upload a video titled Chick Bank Robber, in which she'd straight up admit to having just committed a robbery. She'd then discuss her entire methodology for the crime, while showing the money and the amount that had been stolen, before concluding the video by describing the vehicle she had used and that it had its license plates removed. This information eventually resulted in Hannah Sabata's arrest and sentencing of 10 to 20 years prison, done so in a public courtroom filled to maximum capacity with people who had seen the video. Just 2 years prior to this, 21-year-old Frank Singleton was being released from Palm Beach County Jail, having just served time for a trespassing charge. The only issue was he didn't have a car to leave the jail, so he decided to steal one from the visitors' parking lot, yet the car he decided to steal was a manual and he could only drive auto. Singleton sat in the car looking like an idiot before being arrested and sentenced to a further 6 years in prison, telling deputies that he tried to take the car because he didn't feel like walking to his home about 6 miles away. And while you may be sat here thinking that these criminals can't get any dumber, it's time to introduce 53-year-old Michael Anthony Fuller. Well, it's common knowledge
अभी तक जो थे वो सिर्फ ट्रेलर पे थे, अभी उससे भी बड़ा एक चूतिया है
that the US banknote doesn't go any higher than $100. Fuller had the genius idea to create a counterfeit $1 million note before trying to use it at his local Walmart. He loaded his cart with a vacuum cleaner, a microwave, and various other items totaling $472 before handing the $1 million note to the cashier, expecting $999,528 in change. Needless to say, Walmart wasn't able to facilitate this, and instead store staff called police. Fuller was later charged with attempting to obtain property by false pretense and uttering a forged instrument.
भाई महाचूतिए चूतिए लोग हैं भाई, कहाँ से आते हैं भाई ऐसे बंदे, पागल हो जाऊंगा मैं। तो चलो वीडियो खत्म हो चुका है, महाचूतिया वीडियो देखा अपनी जिंदगी का अभी तक मैं। इतने खत्म लोग होते हैं भाई दुनिया में। तो जिसको वीडियो देखने में मजा आया हो लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब कर देना। मैं और ऐसे ही तगड़े वीडियो लेके आते रहूंगा। तब तक के लिए पीस।